Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark from the United States.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Mark from the States. How are we doing today? I'm doing fantastic. I hope you are as well. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. We're going to learn something today. This is from our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Mark Felton Productions. This is the Forgotten Market Garden Bridge. Right? Irish Guards at Joe's Bridge is the name of the video. 2 links below, one to his channel and one to this video. Please go and support it. If you have 1 like and 1 subscription to give today, I encourage you to go over there and support him and his channel. He puts in tons of work. He's amazing, and I'm blessed that he's given us his permission to learn from his videos. So I've got this big fake couch here for you all to come sit yourself down, watch with me. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you won't. Maybe this is something you already know, which is awesome too, because then you can give me some more context in the chat or in an email, which you can find in the description if you're interested. I'm just very grateful that you've all decided to come and hang out with me. Speaking of hanging out, if you were there with me on Sunday in North Carolina, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. If you've watched it after the live stream and watched a replay of it, thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. I learned a ton. I've been to Mooresville, North Carolina several times over the years and never once really knew a lot of the history because we were always busy doing something else. I loved the opportunity to where we did the live stream. It allowed me to kind of just walk around the town itself and see the history that they have with the founder. I think his name was John Moore, I believe, who the town was named after. That it was a mill town, of course, which a lot of those towns in the South were, and just the rich history that it had. And so thank you, because without you, I wouldn't be doing that, and I wouldn't be able to get anything out of it. So I'm just very grateful. So thank you so much. So today, Forgotten Market Garden Bridge, Irish Guards at Joe's Bridge. Let's take a gander and learn something, shall we? All right, let me jump out. Should get in that box. I hope I'm there. Yeah? Let's hope. Here we go. You know, 81 years ago, right? 81 years ago was in 1944. It was like a week or something in September, just maybe a couple weeks ago. So yeah, somewhat on time for the anniversary.
Most of us are probably fairly familiar with Operation Market Garden, Field Marshal Montgomery's audacious plan to outflank the German Siegfried Line defenses bordering the Netherlands in mid-September 1944. The plan involved using 2 US and 1 British parachute divisions plus the Polish Parachute Brigade to seize and hold a series of river bridges up to the city of Arnhem on the Lower Rhine. The object was to create a 64-mile salient into German territory through which a powerful British armoured and infantry force called 30 Corps could advance, relieving each embattled parachute division in turn before pressing on into northern Germany, effectively hooking behind the strong Siegfried Line defences. If successful, Market Garden could very well have shortened the war in the West, but that it failed was not for want of trying. The names of the towns seized by the airborne carpet and their bridges have gone down in military history: Eindhoven, Sonn, Grave, Nijmegen and Arnhem.
Nijmegen.
But there is one bridge that is almost always left out of the story of Market Garden. The first bridge that with its capture opened the way for Montgomery's great operation. The bridge at Neerpelt, known officially as Bridge Number 9, but to history as Joe's Bridge, after the commanding officer of the battalion that captured and held it, the 3rd Battalion Irish Guards.
Okay.
This battalion was part of 30 Corps, the ground element of Market Garden. More immediately, the Irish Guards were part of the Guards Armoured Division, which had been created in 1941 out of the regiments of the Foot Guards and the Household Cavalry, the troops that provide ceremonial guards for British monarchs, and are also regular fighting troops, then and now. The Irish Guards is the 4th Regiment of Foot Guards, and one of the newest, having been created 125 years ago in 1900. So this year is a special anniversary year for the Irish Guards, which recruits from all over Ireland, amongst both Protestants and Catholics. The Guards Armoured Division had landed in Normandy on the 13th of June 1944 and fought in several of the bloody engagements to push the Germans back, notably Operations Goodwood and Bluecoat. Transferred to 30 Corps, the Guards Armoured had liberated Brussels, the capital of Belgium, and then had helped in the capture of the vital city of Antwerp until brought to a halt by the fuel shortages and other supply problems faced by the Western Allies. In the interim period, Montgomery had begun to plan an operation to drive through the Netherlands to the city of Arnhem and hook behind the Siegfried Line. But
I have to say, and I wasn't sure that the Siegfried Line went up that far, but apparently it did. I know a little bit about Market Garden. Of course, you hear about how it failed and the numerous different reasons why. I've never heard of Joe's Bridge. Many of those other bridges, yes, they've become popularized in movies and so on and so forth. I like the name Joe's Bridge better than Bridge Number 9. But it's interesting. On paper, the plan, very audacious, I would say. But man, if it could have worked. But the thing with these plans is you got to have so much to go right. And just the thought of flying in under those gliders, just those guys who did that are just incredible. But not familiar with, and he's right, you don't really hear about Joe's Bridge or Bridge Number 9 for that matter. Interesting.
But in order to launch Market Garden, Montgomery had to secure a start line for 30 Corps on the Belgian-Dutch frontier. On the 6th of September 1944, Montgomery asked Lieutenant General Brian Horrocks, commanding 30 Corps, to move out, and the towns of Louvain and Diest were quickly captured. The Welsh Guards had managed to cross the Albert Canal on the 6th of September near Beuningen, but German resistance then hardened. The Irish Guards had cleared that town and on the 8th of September moved on to Hechtel to relieve the Welsh Guards that were stuck in very heavy fighting there with elements of the crack Hermann Göring Panzer Division. On the 10th of September, the British still couldn't get beyond Hechtel. Montgomery was becoming concerned. He had originally planned just to use 30 Corps to push all the way to Nijmegen and perhaps beyond, but now began to plan a joint parachute armoured operation that became known, of course, as Market Garden. On the 10th of September, the Irish Guards, under the command of Lieutenant Colonel J.O.E. Vandeleur, was to capture Exel, while the Welsh Guards kept the Hermann Göring Division and some SS formations busy at Hechtel and Leopoldsburg. The plan was for the rest of the Guards Armoured Division to then turn east, cut off the main road north of Hechtel, then advance over the main road to the bridge over the Meuse-Scheldt Canal, known as Bridge Number 9. On the 10th, the Irish Guards' advance met some heavy resistance. Several tanks were lost to German anti-tank guns. Then a stream that proved impassable to tanks further held up the Irish Guards. Eventually, a disused railway track provided firm ground for the tanks. The leading Irish Guards vehicles reached the main road north of Hechtel at 1700 hours, and an hour later were in positions at Exel. In the meantime, a reconnaissance of Bridge No. 9 was now desired, and on the evening of the 10th, No. 5 Troop A Squadron, 2nd Household Cavalry, led by Lieutenant Creswell in armoured cars, crept forward, managing to find, incredibly, an undefended route to the bridge, a sandy track through the countryside. Creeping closer and afraid that his scout vehicles would be spotted, Creswell attempted a reconnaissance. His vehicles, however, were surrounded by extremely happy locals, and asking for 2 bicycles,
Oh, no.
he and a corporal of horse silently cycled closer to the bridge to investigate, clambering onto the roof of a nearby factory.
I'll go back. You can't try to do it, on the down low, as the kids say, when you got the whole town surrounding you, cheering you on. Makes it a little hard to be a little, unnoticed. I thought he was going to say they got surrounded by Germans, but almost. It's cool that the town was happy to see him and all, but yeah, not when you're trying to not make a big scene.
Closer to the bridge to investigate, clambering onto the roof of a nearby factory, and Creswell was able to get a good look at the defences on both sides of the bridge. 4 German 88mm anti-tank guns were dug in, covering the wooden bridge, and there were sandbag machine gun positions on both sides of it. Returning to his scout car, Creswell radioed that the route to the bridge was open. An attack force should be urgently dispatched, using the same route his reconnaissance vehicles had taken. Colonel Vandeleur immediately ordered his group forward 8 miles to the factory at Overpelt, linking up with Creswell's household cavalry. Between the Irish Guards of the factory and the bridge was a crossroads that for some reason the Germans had chosen not to defend.
It's an
The 3rd
odd
Battalion
decision.
Irish Guards was now out of range of British artillery support and effectively on its own. Vandeleur would have to rely on the guns of his tanks. Tanks of No. 3 Troop under Lieutenant Duncan Lampard and a platoon of infantry under Lieutenant John Stanley Clark left to occupy the crossroads, while the rest of Major Daniel Peel's No. 1 Squadron took up positions in the bend of the road near the bridge. Headquarters Squadron was to fire on the crossroads to the west, while No. 2 Troop of Sergeant Bell and No. 1 Troop of Sergeant Smith were to open fire on the bridge itself and the approaches. All the tanks were told to keep up very heavy Browning machine gun fire and also high explosive fire from the tanks' guns to try and drive the Germans off of their own positions. Lieutenant Lampard's troop moved up to the crossroads, halting 30 yards from it, and from there they could see the Germans at the bridge. In fact, he observed an 88mm gun actually being towed across the bridge. It was quickly knocked out by British tanks and burst into flames.
The whole idea of taking a bridge is just on the surface seems like a very daunting task. You don't want to destroy the bridge. You want to use the bridge, but you have to destroy the defending of the bridge. And I don't know how, if you're just shooting, tanks or pounding at the positions, or what we see here being towed across, it's like without, I assume they have people who can then fix the bridge, allow other vehicles to cross after they take it, but it's like, they had a lot of bridges booby-trapped with, charges to blow up, right, I imagine. It's hard it's hard to kind of wrap your head around, like how do we eliminate the threat on the bridge without like destroying the bridge itself.
Major Peel now ordered Lampard and Stanley Clark's units to rush the bridge, with the rest of the Irish Guards following up in support.
Here we go.
Lampard moved his troop to the crossroads and dispersed his 4 tanks under the cover of houses. One tank, however, was engaged by a German 88 and another jammed its turret and had to withdraw. Squadron headquarters now opened fire on the bridge, and with Lampard's vehicles, 11 Sherman tanks were now hammering the German positions. Once the infantry were in position, the bridge was liberally sprayed with Browning machine gun fire. Then a red signal flare shot into the sky, and Lieutenant Lampard's tanks broke cover and charged towards the bridge. Lance Sergeant McGurran's tank crashed into a house and stalled as he traded shots with a German 88. The second tank, commanded by Sergeant Steer, swung round the stalled Sherman and charged the bridge. By now illuminated by the burning 88 and its tractor, Lampard's tank followed. Then McGurran's tank, now operational again. Following.
Wow. Look at that. That's intense.
The tanks came the running infantry of Lieutenant Stanley Clark's platoon. They charged across the bridge under a hail of German machine gun fire and flung themselves into ditches and trenches on the far bank. The bridge had not blown up, but moving quickly behind the Irish Guards infantry came a half-track under the command of Captain Ron Hutton of the Royal Engineers, along with 2 of his men.
Royal Engineers, okay. Those are the guys who are going to fix it. Fix the damage, make sure the bridge. They're probably also there to diffuse any sort of explosives, right? That would be used to destroy the bridge. It's hard to think why didn't they blow the bridge up? I mean, they need the bridge as well, so blowing it up is the last thing I imagine they want to do. But if you see this full on, once the attack starts, it's interesting that they didn't.
He quickly gathered 4 volunteers from the Irish Guards, and they began cutting every wire they could see on both sides of the bridge. When Hutton lost his wire cutters, he resorted to using his pistol to shoot the wires to break them.
My gosh.
Vandeleur now dispatched Major Hendry's No. 2 Company and No. 3 Squadron over the bridge to reinforce the new bridgehead, fearful of an immediate German counterattack. Major Dudley's No. 3 Company was also sent over. The headquarters and reserve squadron formed a hedgehog defence south of the bridge. The cost of the Irish Guards rushing the bridge was 1 killed and 5 wounded, but the speed and aggression had probably reduced casualties.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Vandeleur reported after midnight that the bridge was in British hands. The staff couldn't believe their luck.
Amazing.
The next morning, Captain Hutton removed all the demolition charges from the bridge. A sign was then placed on the structure reading Joe's Bridge in honour of the Irish Guards commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Joe Vandeleur. And some have suggested also for Captain Hutton's Royal Engineers section, which was known as Joe's Troop. The name soon became official, and even today, 81 years later, it is still Joe's Bridge.
That's awesome.
The Germans only became aware of the loss of this very important bridge on the morning of the 11th of September. They soon formulated plans to take it back and extinguish the Irish Guards bridgehead. During the morning of the 11th, the British poured more Guards battalions over the bridge to try and enlarge the bridgehead, but then General Horrocks cancelled this order, leaving only the 3rd Battalion Irish Guards holding the area, with only 2 infantry companies and 2 tank squadrons north of the bridge. It has emerged that if the British had at that point forced their way on north on the 11th of September, they could probably have reached Eindhoven without meeting very much resistance.
Oh, man.
The Germans at this time were very scattered and disorganized. However, Horrocks didn't want to expand the bridgehead, as it might give away to the Germans the British intention to launch an offensive from it soon afterwards, which is, of course, what Montgomery was planning to do. Pockets of German resistance remained fighting behind the Irish Guards, making supplying them at the bridge difficult. However, the Germans were not slow in mounting a counterattack. The 11th of September, Major Bose Daly of the 2nd Household Cavalry took his A Squadron forward from the bridgehead to the village of Lommel. Lieutenant Creswell's troop of the Household Cavalry also bumped into a German convoy consisting of 7 Puma armoured cars, a Panzer IV and a towed 88mm anti-tank gun. In a brief exchange of fire, Creswell managed to hold one of the Pumas, but the German convoy managed to get away. More fighting followed, and a Household Cavalry Matador armoured vehicle hit a German self-propelled gun 5 times, causing it to explode. German infantry was also now beginning to mass near the bridge. A large number of British staff and supply vehicles were by now parked on the crossroads near to the bridge, and also Honey light tanks of the Irish Guards Reconnaissance Squadron. Household Cavalry vehicles were parked by the factory.
Honey light tanks. Not sure if I've seen these before. Same with that one we saw earlier, the Matador. Love it. So it's implied here that if the Irish Guards were still to push forward, they could have gotten to the next bridge up, which is the Big E, but held back due to fear of being, spread out. They don't want to make a big announcement that they're coming. Interesting. War, crazy in stuff like this, where it's just these little decisions. Who's to say what would have happened? I mean, the fact that they've still have back on their side of the bridge, there's still little pockets of Germans that are still fighting that they have to try to navigate through to get there, that they bypassed on their way. And oh man, Market Garden, I think, I know the gist of Market Garden. I haven't dived headfirst into everything, but love learning about it, though. Interesting.
Some German sniper fire was continuing to be received, but at 0900 hours on the 11th of September, out of low-lying mist, came a large German attack from the north. Shells hit the Honeys, killing 7 Irish Guardsmen and wounding dozens more. Joe Vandeleurs' staff car was hit and went up in flames. A 3rd Battalion Irish Guards anti-tank gun, which attempted to go into action, was also struck, the crew being killed. The Staghound armoured cars of the Household Cavalry opened up with their 37mm guns, but could do little against the German tanks and self-propelled guns that were moving towards them, until an Irish Guards M10 tank destroyer pulled into the middle of the road and knocked out a German self-propelled gun with its first shot.
Nice.
Major Peel, taking command of a Sherman tank, engaged another self-propelled gun at 500 yards and knocked it out with 4 shots. The Germans withdrew into gardens, taking cover. After a while, a second German counterattack materialized, which included a mixed group of SS and Army infantry, supported once again by self-propelled guns advancing on the bridge. The Irish Guards' fire decimated the advancing German infantry, the survivors withdrawing, but the self-propelled guns continued to come on, one shell killing Major Peel. Peel's tank was shortly after knocked out and set on fire, but this self-propelled gun was later found abandoned and damaged after the battle. Captain E. Rawlance, the Irish Guards motor transport officer, quickly assembled a Piat gun team and tried to stalk a German self-propelled gun.
I know about
he and
this
his crew
weapon.
were all killed, but the German attack failed and they withdrew to De Luylen. The Germans did, however, begin to seal off the British bridgehead using paratroopers. a screen of Fallschirmjägers from the 6th and 18th Parachute Regiments took up positions all around the bridgehead on the 11th. The Dutch border area was held, but the German paratroopers were not strong enough to launch an assault on Joe's Bridge and retake it. By the evening of the 11th of September, the bridgehead was sealed off. The day before, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the Allied Supreme Commander, had given Montgomery permission to expedite Operation Market Garden. The base of operations for 30 Corps would be the bridgehead around Joe's Bridge. From here, the Guards Armored Division would advance via Eindhoven, Sonn, Fegel, Grave and Nijmegen to try and relieve the British paratroopers holding one end of the bridge at Arnhem. So the daring capture of Joe's Bridge by the Irish Guards on the 10th to 11th of September 1944 made possible the activation of Market Garden on the 17th of September. It was truly the first bridge that allowed 30 Corps to break out north and begin relieving the US and British parachute divisions that were dropped ahead of the tanks. Joe's Bridge was replaced post-war with a modern steel structure over the Meuse-Escaut Canal. But the name remains today, and the bridge is part of the Airborne Trail, a 140-mile footpath from Lommel, near the bridge, to Arnhem, a permanent reminder of Operation Market Garden.
Well, that is cool. That they have a trail there to honor what they did. That's so freaking cool. It's too bad they couldn't keep the bridge. I understand they got to modernize it, but at least maybe make it look like it did back in the day. That would have been pretty nice. But oh wow. I mean, they're still a long ways from the most famous of the bridges, right? Nijmegen, if I said that right. But wow. I did not know about Joe's Bridge.
So on this 125th anniversary of the formation of the Irish Guards, the vital role played by their 3rd Battalion in September 1944 is worth remembering, and their daring capture of the first Market Garden Bridge.
That was good. I want to go back here. So they have the group of 4 buttons. For a minute there, I thought it was 3, but it's 4, right? There's the clover, right? Okay. So the Scots Guards are 3, Welsh are 5, Coldstream is 2. Household. Right, that's number 1. I always forget. And that's an interesting video. I enjoyed that. Let me go back here. Grenadier. That's what I was trying to think. Grenadier. Coldstream, Scots, Irish, Welsh. I have to revisit this every once in a while to be able to remember. Grenadier. I don't know why I keep forgetting that one. Grenadier. I don't know why I said household. Grenadier, Coldstream, Scots, Irish, Welsh. The Scots do not wear a plume. Got it. Buttons in 4 for the Irish. Blue plume. Right of cap. Okay. Green is Welsh. And I would have thought green would be Irish. Welsh would be red, but the red goes to the Coldstream. Interesting. Interesting the Scots don't wear any. I don't know what the history there is. The Scots Guard don't wear a plume. But when I think of colors, I think of Grenadier and Coldstream, of course, red and white. Scots, I would think they would wear blue. Irish, I would think they would wear green. And I would think Welsh would wear red as well, but maybe on the other side. You know what I mean? To differentiate between who Coldstream wears theirs. Interesting. That was a good video. I liked it. Obviously, didn't know about it. I'm going to jump out here. I didn't know about the Joe's Bridge. That's fascinating. I wonder, did you know about Joe's Bridge? I'm sure a lot of you did, but and the Irish Guards and how they took it to basically kick off Market Garden. That is what could have been, right? It's interesting. I always find the decision making because it's always one person or so who makes the decision whether to keep going or to stop. And I totally see how he stopped or why he stopped. The supplies couldn't keep up. You still had pockets of German resistance behind you. So every time you try to bring more supplies and stuff, they have to go through dealing with those guys. But if they kept going, they were so close to the next big, target object on the bridges, and who knows what could have happened. But good for the Irish Guards. That was awesome. Joe's Bridge, and I love that it's still there. It's new now, of course. It's a modern bridge, but I love how they still call it Joe's Bridge. Way better than Bridge number 9. Just doesn't have the same ring to it. And I love that they have the trail that basically honors the whole campaign there. It's really cool. Thank you, Mark Felton. Hey, if you don't already subscribe to Mark Felton, don't like or subscribe here. Go to his channel. Use the links below. Go over there and support him. It's really important that you do that. I love his videos. They're great. They're really great, and I'm just honored and grateful that he allows us to learn about stuff like this, because when you think of Market Garden, you think of the big bridges. You think of Bridge Too Far. You think the movies and all the stuff that's talked about, but you don't think about this. Very interesting. I love learning about these little, in the video game they would call this a side mission in a way. It's something that's really important, and but it's not really talked about, which is interesting. Now, if you're really into World War II and you study World War II and all this stuff, yeah, this probably gets discussed, I imagine. But for the the non-knowledgeable people like me, yeah, this is, they're not making movies about Joe's Bridge. Or have they? You'll have to let me know. Hope everybody's happy, healthy, and safe. Thanks so much for coming. I appreciate all of you who came and joined me on last Sunday. The next live stream at the end of this month, the end of October, I'm thinking about doing it here in my hometown of Ventura. Maybe show you down by the beach, or we can just have our talks. It's just a little more interesting to do the live stream out and about than me just sitting here at a computer. I've noticed the last 2 months that I've done live streams, one in Vegas, one in North Carolina. I had a lot of fun doing them, walking around. It was a lot of fun, so I think I want to continue it. Maybe in the coming months we can go up and to Santa Barbara or to Montecito, and we can try to look over the wall at Harry and Meghan's house up there. What do you think? I think it'd be fun. A lot of fun. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. All right, bye-bye.
Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark